The male students will gather under the concept that we call mugota. You know, as we've been growing up, we know that when somebody comes mugota is a place where boys sleep, boys who are not yet married that sleep in that hut. So that's the concept that we have taken to another level, whereby we bring the young men such that we openly discuss issues to do with their well-being, their sexual and reproductive health, and also discussing issues to do with the responsibilities that they are supposed again to carry in terms of ensuring that we eliminate gender-based violence from our society. Remember, we have been informed, or research has shown that gender-based violence or HIV carries the face of a woman. And normally, when you look at sexual harassment, gender-based violence, it carries also, you know, men are said to be perpetrators. So the idea now is when we are under Mugota, we are bringing these young men to interrogate that, such that they take up they make a commitment to be responsible within the society in terms of eliminating gender-based violence from the tertiary institutions.
So I think when we have awareness campaigns like these ones, when we have discussions that involve anything to do with men or women, men or women in general, we must make sure that there's always a representative for the people, for the disabled, a person who's able to speak out on behalf of the other people, so that we put into considerations their views when it comes to what they go through, because it seems like these people suffer in silence, right? And they have no way to speak out, they have no one who listens to them. So I think we need to have better representation when it comes to issues affecting people with disabilities.
There's no fairness between females and males in terms of sexual harassment. Because if it is a girl who started it, no, there will be no, we as men just to keep quiet. But if you were a man who started, who sexually harassed a lady, then as I'm speaking right now, of the working in the prison.
In police service, there's a department called Victim Friendly Unity. So let's say if you're sexually harassed, the staff, don't just go to any police officer, but ukaenda to police station, I want to see the victim friendly unity, and if you go there, unopuwa a chance yekuti choose any police officer waunoda kuti utaurire nyaya yako, then iye ndiye anodhilana nyaya yako rather than kungoudza any police officer asina kana explain nazvo.
As we try to engage violence against women, talking about gender-based violence, we need also to engage the men, because they are the perpetrators. So as much as we're going to end this, it's high time we say 50-50. The moment we have a program that is under gender-based violence with women, let's have men on the other side, so they get to understand the impact that they put to the women.
The male reproductive system is 10% in the south and 90% north, which means most of your reproductive function actually happens in your brain. Both even in terms of hormonal stimulation and everything, it's a pituitary gland and hypothalamus that stimulates most of the activities that you end up carrying out in the lower part of your body. So that being said, it will help us resonate around what I actually believe that we can or we have a control over most of our sexual functions to a certain extent.
It's an opportunity for young men to come and interact after there's been realization that young men have been being left out in the agenda of health. So at Midland State University, we do meetings under the banner of Mugota, where young men come together and sit and discuss issues that affect them and also proffer solutions.
We conducted counseling sessions with the guy for the course of about 3 months, and even after the semester closed, we still kept in touch with the guy on social media platforms, which included WhatsApp, and we were also doing this feedback mechanism where, you know, towards the end of the counseling sessions, we would then give him space, give him a chance to make his own decision to see if our counseling sessions had been that effective, of which it worked quite well. So we would check on him. The first one, we would check on him on a 2-week basis, and then we went to a month, and then eventually we just let him loose, and now he's doing quite well. His life is back on track, and I also met his family. They're so grateful for what we have done with the family. I think with that, that's more than enough evidence that this Mugota forum has really been beneficial. Thank you.
We meet at our institution twice a week.
Web for Life. And these concepts, in particular Web for Life is just a platform for the female students within the tertiary institutions where they can meet and have conversations, free conversations without anyone giving them stereotypes. It is a sharing lived realities amongst young women who are female students within our tertiary institutions.
So these problems that you have of sexual harassment, of struggling economically, when I look at the models that we have, I don't think they are really structured and earmarked for female students. So that's my own reflection as I was beginning to look, because just after you've graduated, you find us waiting for you on the other end of employment. We are back again, looking at, is there fair practice, in the workplaces. We are looking at rural women, and these are really women who have not probably gone through tertiary education. We are looking at, are rural women participating? Are rural women, do they have access to microfinance? So we come back, but I think this tertiary period is for me really a neglected time. When I look at the three facets of empowerment that I think are critical for a young person to then thrive and sustainably become empowered. And I'm looking at social empowerment, I'm looking at economic empowerment, I'm looking at political empowerment. I don't think in political empowerment we do have any, young women leadership mentorship programs.
What we have seen is that when we go to political parties to do empowerment of women so that they can become leaders, we rarely find female students within the women that we are working with. Because for us, when we talk about women, it's women in their diversity. What we find is that the younger women face a double tragedy. There is patriarchy, which discriminates against women in terms of, getting access to getting elected into positions, maybe to be a councillor or to be an MP. And then there's ageism, because when the women meet, there's fewer space for them to fight in political parties. You find that now, I'm sure you know about the women's quota, which brought into parliament 60 women. And the cry was that the women that are there, we did an analysis as WIPSU. The statistics show that women, most of them are over 50, that got elected into those positions, and it's very unfortunate. So there are no voices of young women in political decision making. In political parties, when they talk about the youth, it's usually the males who dominate also those structures. So I'm also beginning to see that there's more that needs to be done at students' level. And then we're also looking at, we are happy that now there's a female student for the first time since the establishment of the University of Zimbabwe to become the SRC president, right? But we also just wondered, we were following a campaign, and we were trying to find out if the other members of that body can actually help her to bring out the women's issues, in that space. And we are not so sure that she'll be able to do that, because it's also male dominated in terms of the rest of the membership, which is what we find even, it reflects what happens even like in the overall governance system, whereby there are very few women who have influential positions, but their ability to then represent the critical things that affect women can be difficult because they are loners in those spaces.
In order to prevent gender-based violence and bring justice to survivors of gender-based violence, have now developed an interconnected overarching strategy, which includes first and foremost the prevention of violence. It also includes the strengthening of the legal and policy frameworks, and also improving the response and services for survivors of gender-based violence, so to speak. So these are broad spheres which the donors are looking into in terms of supporting survivors of gender-based violence. So as we have noted already, that as a group, we are not directly shall I say, the funding models that are already there. They're looking at these broad issues, prevention of violence, so to speak, availability of services, and also strengthening legal frameworks. They're not really tailor-made maybe for students at tertiary universities. So in that case, maybe it moves us to a point where we should say, as young women or as students in in universities, how can we already ride upon the already existing programs? Because as also Patricia put it correctly, the funding, the resources that are available are very limited. So I think we also need to be innovative to say how can we be part of these already existing programs, so to speak.
We need to be very sensitive when it comes to the use of social media. It's damaging young people.
So it is very much important in that we interact and interrelate to the issues that we discuss in Word for Life. So it's a safe space. We believe that women can impact each other on a personal level. And this is the opportunity that is being provided by Word for Life. One of the issues that we discuss in the Word for Life platform is that we do not want to ignore the impact of social media on the perception of.
What happens is that we just prove patriarchy right in most instances. We prove the world right when they say women always pull each other down. So the beautiful women that are here today are empowered. So please empower other women so they can empower themselves and empower other people tomorrow, right?
We had a very serious and important topic on sexual harassment on campus and defiant conceal. Some of the key highlights of this session was around the need of just continuous awareness and spotlight on issues of sexual harassment on campus and universities, or issues of higher tertiary education, because the conversation is rarely talked about, and to an extent the sad thing is it's happening, and it has almost been normalized in these institutions. And some of the recommendations that I think are worth noting is the issue of strengthening the complaints mechanisms at local institutions as well as national level. Just ensuring that the mechanism for reporting as well as hearing of the cases are strengthened at these campuses. And whether it's the offense is happening between a student and a lecturer, or a student and a student, those were the issues that were said to need to be clarified. And also just awareness of those policies. We realize that most of the time these policies, some of them are in draft form, some are already there at these institutions, but very few students actually know about them. So this includes just raising awareness on campuses and also putting them online so that students can actually refer to them. And also issues about the culture was also noted, that we should begin serious conversations as well as practices and beliefs of just not tolerating the cultures that perpetuate sexual harassment at institutions and to an extent rape. So issues like blaming the survivor or the victim. What was she wearing? How many drinks did she have? Why was she going to see the lecturer by herself? Was one of those issues that we challenged ourselves to start doing when we go back to our campuses and at home. The last thing is addressing the power imbalances that just understanding that there are power imbalances between students and lecturers, and there is need for clear policies that clearly lays out some of these issues, and some of the issues that happened or that have been revealed, that at some point lecturers actually ask for sexual favors in exchange for marks, which should actually be a no-no and a zero tolerance to all the institutions in Zimbabwe.
We launched an application, Smart Choices, where we are saying smart learners, they make smart choices. The mobile application is meant to reach out to young people through ICT. SAYWHAT has also developed, he has actually acknowledged the developments that are taking place in terms of ICT. The question is, where do we find a lot of young people? A lot of young people are found on social media. How then can we capitalize and package the information that we want to get to young people in a way that can also get to them and fit into the space that they spend much of their time? So we've been developing this mobile application, which again took into considerations issues that were raised by the students in terms of the challenges to do with the data. So this application, once somebody's downloaded, you don't have to be online. It's an offline application which has got various information on sexual and reproductive health. It talks about male circumcision, talks about STIs, talks about contraception, talks about even where you get the nearest clinic in your area. In which area, which clinic is there, what kind of services are provided by that particular clinic. So this mobile application right now is being found on Google Play, and it's also on, I think by Monday it will also be on iOS as well.
Ladies and gentlemen, numbers don't lie. Mobile subscription in Zimbabwe stands at 13.04 million. That is 76% of the Zimbabwe population.
In a way, again, I'm excited to highlight that we are gathered here this 10th National Students Conference, which marks part of the journey that SAYWHAT has been going on with a number of partners and stakeholders to eliminate challenges that are being faced by the students within the tertiary institutions. I'm excited that today we are also gathered here. Last year we were here and we raised about 3 issues to our guest of honor, who happened to be the Deputy Minister of Health. We raised one. First issue was around sexual harassment within our tertiary institutions. The second issue was around the issue of accommodation. And again, the same issue is being discussed again here about accommodation. The third issue that we raised was around the issue of art administration, the administration of antiretroviral therapy within our tertiary institutions. We have heard the girls here and the boys confirming that within our tertiary institutions, even up to now, we still have our own students who are living positive. And these students are not living positively, they are living positively simply because they were born HIV positive. So we also celebrate that they managed to get to a university level. Now the challenge is, how then can we ensure that we continuously improve the quality of life for these students? We still have sexual harassment within the tertiary institutions. We are even failing to come up with a common and shared perspective on a number of key issues when we are addressing issues to do with sexual and reproductive health, which then means that there is a need for us to find a common ground, whereby how then can we ensure that facts and values are brought together and we discuss in terms of value issues and the reality on the ground, such that we can address the issues that are affecting the young people within our tertiary institutions. We have laws to protect young women and girls from rape, abuse and violence, but actually we are losing the lives of young women through violence, which is something that we need to deal with. Sadly, the resources are getting limited despite the emerging challenges amongst young people. Therefore, we need to move to business unusual. Yesterday, as part of the pre-conference, we hosted a research interview. Part of the conversations with the research interview, the agenda was for us to find ways of understanding systematically the challenges that are affecting the young people. Having invested so much this far, but we are still facing the same challenges. The question now is, what are we doing wrong? So the whole idea of the research interview was to find some ways or strategies. How can we interrogate and go deeper and find the challenges that the young people are facing and come up possibly with the practical solutions?